1st of January when an administrator informed her that her class was cancelled and the students would be notified. And the official also went on to say that the complaint had actually sparked an investigation, uh, and due to the university's rule, she won't be allowed to teach there any longer till the investigation had been concluded. What do you make of all of this, Ram?
Well, firstly, I think we need to celebrate her and congratulate her for this badge of honor. And I think as activists, we need to understand that when a policeman beats you, it's a badge of honor. When you're arrested unlawfully and abused, it's a badge of honor. When you're victimized like she's been, it's an indication and a real badge of honor that she has successfully shown proper solidarity and meaningful support for the Palestinian struggle. So to her, I think as a South African and as a board member of Africa for Palestine, I want to congratulate her for this very big achievement to have become so relevant that a university should fire her the day of taking up employment based on her Palestinian solidarity. When it comes to the university and the Zionist lobby, we want to warn them and be very clear that their days of thuggery and bullying and unlawful manipulation of processes to try suppress the voices of the Palestinian people and activists who support Palestine are coming to an end. And these actions will not be forgotten, will be remembered as disgraceful periods in the history of their institutions. And also the lobby group and those who support these universities in making these revolting and disgusting oppression of activists, making these decisions that suppress activist freedom of speech. They're running out of support. They're running out of support in the world and becoming pariahs. In fact, a senior leader from the Israeli government said that they think this year, 2022, is a year that the apartheid narrative is going to stick on Israel. And I think that's certain. So we have a mixture of great pride in the activism she's expressed and great anger with the institution that continues to behave like apartheid institutions did in South Africa.
Okay, so when we look at her profile, we see that she's been a high profile Palestinian rights campaigner since arriving in the UK as a student. She and her family are refugees, Palestinians ethnically cleansed from their home in what is now Israel by Zionist militias way back in 1948. And like all other Palestinian refugees, they are barred by Israel from returning to their original homes because they are not Jewish. Bram?
She's certainly standing up for the righteous and the human, for humanity across the world. We celebrate her activism. I would want to say, if we do ever get to engage her, or if we do manage to get her on the line later, that she must apply for universities in South Africa. Here we are part of the world, and the world is very proud of what Palestine is doing to try to stand up for its rights and people like her. And it would be an honor if she applied to some universities in South Africa, and if South Africa ended up having the privilege of having her lecture in one of our universities. And our universities are quite good as well.
Wow, I certainly will pass that on. Hopefully, we will try and get her on the show tomorrow. Coming back to the issue
and when
at
she
hand.
applies,
Yes.
and when she applies, she must tell us and tell you where she's applying so we can follow those applications and provide support. In fact, there are many academics and even leaders of our academic institutions who, and our own government for that matter, who are quite fearless in their support of the Palestinian struggle.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll make certain that we pass on all that information to her. Now, Bram, uh, she obviously has been an organizer against, and this is important, this is really important that we highlight it. Shahad Abu Salama has been an organizer against the adoption of the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, obviously, which falsely conflates criticism of Israel and anti-Jewish bigotry. And in 2019, also around the boycott of Eurovision, the controversial IHRA definition is regularly used by Israel lobby groups to smear and censor supporters of Palestinian rights. How do we further support them, Bram, in this area of their work?
Well, I think that our government, in fact, yesterday there was an announcement by the president of South Africa, who's also the president of the African National Congress, as we know, reporting back from the National Executives meeting and the hotline that was held this weekend. And he affirmed the fact that the ANC is instructing government to oppose the permitting of Israel as an observer at the AU, and do so fearlessly as a government, and to lobby the region to object to this crazy maneuver. Our government has now consistently at the UN stood up and supported Palestine and opposed ridiculous maneuvers by the Israeli regime and government. We've now become very openly supportive of Palestine. There's a lot more we need to do as a government, and we know that. But I think that she shouldn't be shy to even engage our government around support in matters at the UN and matters relating to the abuse of this Holocaust that has happened so long ago that so many Palestinians have been killed in the interim. Why should we skip the suffering of Palestinians and go back in history to celebrate the survival of those who survived the Holocaust instead of those who survived Palestinian oppression?
When I look at the situation playing out against Shahid Abu Salama, I'm wondering if Joe Glassman, the head of political investigations for the campaign against anti-Semitism, wasn't involved here, because he took credit on behalf of the group for the December 2019 electoral defeat of the Labour Party, which was then headed up by Jeremy Corbyn. And following the loss, Corbyn announced that he would resign as party leader in the UK. And we do know that Jeremy Corbyn was very, very pro-Palestinian.
Look, there's no doubt that the Israeli lobby internationally is strong and entrenched. But it has been strong and it has been entrenched for several decades already. What is happening now is you have a person like Corbyn who could do that. You actually have senators who are now beginning to in the United States, which has never been seen before. We see big businesses beginning to withdraw their support to Israeli operations, and the international community increasingly standing out and objecting to what Israel's doing. So it's true that the Israeli lobby is active. The Israeli lobby has influence in the UK and the US and in many countries, even in South Africa. We know well that there are some people who donate huge amounts of money to some of our universities, but at the same time, absolutely clear to vice chancellors that they're not going to continue to support if the university refuses to have a relationship with an Israeli university, for example. But those groups are becoming weaker and weaker and weaker. And I think there's huge progress and much to celebrate from our side. Yeah.
Okay, let's wrap up then and commend people like Jeremy Corbyn, because we know he was and he still is a very vocal supporter of Palestinian rights, along with his grassroots backers, obviously in the UK. Sadly, he was the target of years-long smear campaigns, falsely accusing him of anti-Jewish bigotry. And when he eventually lost his position in Parliament, Joe Glassman had made a statement. He gloated in a video, which he later tried to remove from the internet. And he said that the beast is slain. And the video is entitled Slaughtered. So we truly commend people like Jeremy Corbyn. But in closing then, let me just digress from the Palestinian issue directly from the Abu Salama issue and ask the important question: has an apology been forthcoming from Mogoeng? You knew where I was going to with this. Has the apology been received?
We might be dealing with a man who thinks that he's larger than the law, that he's bigger than the office he occupied.
Well, he made that comment at some point in his recent history. He made some sort of comment regarding God and some such thing. Where do we stand with him now?
Well, look, let's be clear. The victory has already been achieved. The question now is, will he do the right thing? And I don't mean the right thing in terms of just apologizing and the human rights aspect of it, but there's a lot of contestation around the judiciary right now. Are the judiciary overreaching? Are the judiciary a law unto themselves? Do they get held to account? And here's an example that I've never seen in the history of this republic, where a Chief Justice is being forced to apologize, or former Chief Justice. But he did this when he was Chief Justice, and it was ruled while he was Chief Justice. And it's only the appeal that's now come since he left office. Now we have evidence that the top judge can be and is held accountable to some structure. And if he decides to defy that structure and to endlessly fight through legal processes, I think he has another. I'm sure he'll find a way to do that if he wants to. He'll only be vindicating those who are claiming that the judges are accountable to no one, which we don't believe is true, because here's an example where the judge has been told to apologize. Having said that, when you're dealing with somebody who's mentally not sound and who's extremist in outlook, for him, it may be necessary for him to lose all his perks and to no longer be called a judge rather than to apologize. But if that's the route he goes, we'd like to see that happen. Then he must no longer get the benefits of being a former Chief Justice, or he must apologize.
So whether the apology is forthcoming or not, I think that a very strong message has been out in the public space as far as this issue is concerned. His pro-Israeli stance. Obviously, he's kind of really been stripped and be shown for exactly who and what he is.
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah,
Yes. Right. Your final thought.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us on the show. Truly value your input.
Thanks for hosting me. It was a privilege.
You go well, Bram Hanekom.
Okay, bye-bye. Have a nice day.
And you, Bram Hanekom, board member at Africa for Palestine, talking to us about the firing of Shad Abu Salama she hadn't even started her job as a lecturer at the university in the UK. And obviously the day before, due to pressure from pro-Zionist and pro-Israeli groups, she was asked to step down, and an investigation is underway into all of her pro-Palestinian activities. She is and has been an activist in obviously in the UK and all around the world. So we will be watching that pretty closely. Do stay with us. It is 9:33 a.m. We're going for an ad break, and when we get back, we'll be joined by Famida Kassem, marketing manager at Ashraful Aid International.
Financial services only at Sapphire Global, your financial partner. If you are looking for Islamic Sharia and ethical financial products, look no further. Sapphire Global offers a wide range of financial services